Hey guys, my name's Ivory. I'm here to give you a quick little tutorial about Reaper. Had to make this to try to help a friend figure out how to get his MIDI keyboard working with the program, so I figured I'd throw this together real quick and see if I could help some other people out at the same time. So the first thing we're going to do real quick uh, is just take a quick look at preferences. And in the MIDI devices, I'll show you how I have mine set up. I have a Novation Launch Key 49. You can see here that in the input MIDI hardware settings, the Launch Key 49 is selected, enabled, and control. Uh, and then down here you can see that the launch key itself is actually disabled, but the MIDI out to uh, the launch key 49 is enabled. And so that's kind of how I have my settings set up. I don't know if this will really help you guys too much, but hopefully maybe that'll give you an idea. Um, the other thing I want to do real quick is take a look at the VST settings. So VSTs, obviously, if you don't know, are going to be your virtual instruments and other plugins that go along with the program. There's a handful of VSTs that are included by Kakos. I don't know how you say their name. The company that produces Reaper. But there's plenty of other VSTs you can get your hands on out there in the wide world of music production. Some of them will cost you quite a pretty penny. Some of them will be free. We're going to take a quick look at a couple of free ones right now, or at least one of them is free and the other one is currently free at least until the end of October at the time of making this video. We'll take a quick look at that one as well. And links to both of those will be in the description of the video. And so here you can kind of see the VST settings that I have. You just want to make sure that with this that all of your VSTs, your plugins, wind up in the same location pretty much so that Reaper can find them. You can put in other locations here to guide it to specific installs, but for the most part I try to keep mine in the Steinberg VST plugin folders within my x86 and my, or well, 32-bit and 64-bit if you want to go technical with it. And so once the VSTs are installed into those locations, Reaper will find them and load them automatically when you start the program. And so after you get that set up, basically the next step is going to be getting a virtual instrument into your DAW in order to play around with. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. The simplest way is actually the hardest way, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain. So like the easy interface is just to double click here, but this actually makes it harder because you're going to get a blank track and you actually have to go in here. You're going to actually have to find what you want to load on here, as far as instruments or whatever other plugins maybe that you want to put on here, if this is like a Centrac or something like that. And so it's not going to be set up for getting going right away. You're going to have to change a lot of settings like your MIDI inputs and stuff like that, your record monitoring mode, all of these things. So I'm actually going to remove this track and we're going to load a different one a different way by going down to this third option here. You're going to right click on this space over here and we're going to insert specifically a virtual instrument on a new track instead of just using, because like the double click is just this new insert new track. We're going to use this virtual instrument on new track and you're going to see where did it load it for us? Well, I guess it hasn't loaded it yet. So we're going to choose this Helm VST right here, which I'm loading the 64-bit VSTi. And there you can see it. Now it popped up on the left-hand side. And you can see here immediately, you notice the difference that it's immediately record armed, meaning that if we start playing right now, we're going to hear something because it's also in record monitor mode, and all MIDI, all channels is going to this. So I can immediately start playing back sounds. And so within this, Helm is a virtual instrument. It's going to provide you with a lot of the same basics that pretty much any VST instrument is going to give you. You have a couple different oscillators, you have a sub filter, you have a filter, you have a stutter setup, distortion, delay, reverb, modulation, filters, modulating wavetables, a poly LFO and a step sequencer, and you have some keyboard mods that can be set up as far as like you can link these. For example, velocity can be set up to link to this. Or I guess they can be turned on and off, these features down here. I don't actually, to be honest, I don't really know the ins and outs of this program. I've only been messing around with it for a short time. I'm going to quickly load up a lead that I built in it last night. You can kind of see a couple different oscillators. We've got some voices going on. We've got a filter turned on. Didn't really mess around with too much here as far as like trying to create something too crazy, but it did create a nice kind of belly, nice little plucky, almost like plucky bell kind of. I don't know how to really describe it. I just described it as kind of a bright lead because when it gets up into the higher octaves, it sounds kind of bright and a little airy. So, although I think I did modify it later on with a little bit of a sub layer that gave it some thickness. And so the only other major thing you're going to want to worry about after you kind of begin like shaping an initial sound is you're going to want to generally add an external EQ. And so currently I've been using this new EQuivocate EQ program. This is the other one I'll link into the description. It's currently being given away for free. It's a $100 equalizing program that's being given away for free through the end of October. So if you guys don't have it yet, I would go ahead and give it a quick check out. And so like what's cool about this program is it really shows a lot of cool has a lot of cool features as far as it's 26 bands across here. And I mean, of course you can lower this down if you want to. 26 bands is pretty intense, but the nice thing about this is it really lets you do a good job of kind of sweeping out a sound frame. And I would definitely make sure you put the auto output over here because this is going to balance your output as far as when you crank these up. If you don't have this on, this is going to come through really loud generally when you start boosting some of these channels. And so that's kind of the basics of it. And you're basically, when you start doing this, I kind of try to carve out the basic range of the sound. On most stuff, you're going to want to carve out these bottom two, kind of get rid of these because that's going to be your bass layer, unless, of course, it's a bass sound, which is filling up these major lower ranges. And then you'll pick and choose kind of what layers you want to take down higher up and how you want to shape the rest of the EQ. This will be something you'll just have to play around with for yourself over time, as far as that's concerned. So I would like to take one quick last look at one other thing that I have, and I'll try to put a link probably in the comment or something for this if I can figure out how to put this on a file share somewhere. This is a template that I built for Reaper that we'll take a quick look at real quick. The red one is a blank template here, and the orange one right below it is a template that I have currently already filled up with some sample sounds. And so basically what this is, actually you can see I already did put one in here. So this is a resampler, which is the Resample-O-Matic 5000 or the Sample-O-Matic 5000, however you want to say it. It basically allows you to play back samples. You can control some different modes with the program. Basically what this template, what I did is I set up 49 instances of the program, one each bound to the keys of my keyboard. So I use the Novation Launch Key 49, and so basically this template gives me 49 keys of potential samples set up. And so you can see here, like I have a kick sample set up right on the first spot. And so if we take a look at this other one, and I'm actually going to turn this onto a record arm real quick. If we take a look at this other one, you can kind of see how I have all these different samples in here that I could potentially play around with. And so the way they're bound up, I can just play them right over here on my keyboard. And so the only other thing you'd want to do with these possibly is you might need to or want to change the length the release, the attack, the sustain, anything like that that the samples might provide you with the ability to modify. You can come in here and potentially play around with. So and this is all a drag and drop setup. Actually, I'll show you guys real quick. So like this was the kick one that I dropped in here. We'll go to this blank one. You can see it's blank. We'll load this kick folder real quick, and we'll just load kick 2 in here. It'll take a second to pop in. But once it does, you'll see we've got a nice waveform, and now I can click on this guy and we can get our kick sound. And like the cool bit of this is with the samples is that you can mix and match stuff. So like this perk rack, if I had a couple different samples that might work together, you can play them at the same time and blend them together to kind of like what I did actually with my kick up here. This kick was built from a couple different samples out of a kick rack, and you can see I EQ'd it. But each of these samples is tuned to fit the combined sound to create one unique sound from the sample. Anyway, guys, so that's about it. Like I said, it's my first time doing a video like this, so I'm sure it was a little all over the place, but I hope it maybe helped you guys out with figuring some stuff out. Oh, let me show you guys one last thing before I check out of here, because this was one thing that took me a little while to kind of figure out. So, say I want to add real quick a bit to this perk rack. Say I wanted to start putting something onto this perk rack right here. So I'm going to select this first area, which is just the first bar of the song, which you can select any area that you want to, and make sure you then go back and click directly on the line that you want to be on. So in this case, I want to be on the perk rack, so I'm going to click right on this line and jump up to this insert and insert a new MIDI item. And so that's going to give me a blank MIDI item that I can double click on, and now you can see it zooms in, and I have again a view of all of my percussion sounds now that I can play by clicking on them over on the left hand side, and then I can begin to draw in here to build a sound, possibly. We'll see what that sounds like. I don't know. So that's something that could actually work, possibly. I might even hang on to that. Who knows? But anyway, guys, so that's kind of the basics. I hope this helped you guys out. And if it did, please like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments if there's anything else I might be able to help you guys out with. And in the future, maybe I will be back with some more Reaper videos, possibly some music theory stuff, and I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here, guys. All right, have a good day.